Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I hope everybody's well today. Hope everybody's crushing it. I hope you guys had an awesome youth meeting last night. I think we did. I think we had an awesome youth meeting. I'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But I hope that you had an awesome youth meeting. I hope that your day's going well. I hope it's sunny where you are. A little bit of chill in the air that's going on. It's kind of exciting. A little bit of water from me, as I am wont to hydrate often. But listen, if you're brand new here to the channel, you're kind of just scrolling by. My name is Paul Turner from the DiscipleProject.net. Been a youth pastor for 35 years. I've had this YouTube channel for 15 years. I have over 1,200 videos here. I got playlists all over the place from everything from youth ministry games. I have a playlist of over 100 games. I got a list of about 50 youth room design playlists. So if you're looking for the place to come to say, hey, where can I find a lot of really good youth ministry resources all in one place? You've come to the right place right here on the channel. So if you're not a subscriber yet, by all means, go ahead and click the subscribe button and you'll get videos just like this. As you are, go through your week, videos of me will just pop up, or you will get them as part of a newsletter, which I have, the Youth Ministry Roundup. So you can be able to sign up for that as well. If you just go to the DiscipleProject.net, I'll be dropping links in the comments, so you can check those out there as well. And today we're going to be talking about programming. I'm going to talk about the three plans, which is programming, the three plans every youth pastor needs. So we're going to get into that in just a second. And hopefully you will benefit from today. Hopefully you will have just an awesome time here today. And be sure to, if you have youth ministry questions, and I hope you do, drop those in the chat, because I will answer questions as I am going along here and just sharing some thoughts and ideas. So be sure to go ahead and do that, because I will answer your questions. Right? That is what this stream is all about. It is about answering your questions, because youth ministry is hard. If you haven't figured that out, it might be your first year and you said, "Oh, Paul, this is easy stuff." Well, give it a year or 6 months or a month or a week, and you'd be like, oh, that's what he was talking about. Oh, okay, now it hits. Okay, gotcha. So, yeah. Once again, let me just talk a little bit about my youth meeting last night. We had a youth-led youth meeting. And you know what? I never know what's going to happen in these. I tell them to go ahead and plan. They don't tell me. Now, once again, I don't do this with every youth group. This youth group is a small, rural youth group. And so I have different, not conditions, I want to say. I work with them differently maybe than other youth ministries because they're just different that way. I just don't treat every youth. Now, I have principles that are set within every youth ministry that are the same, but I don't engage with youth ministries the same way. So for me, it is a different ball game. And they are a great youth group, by the way. I just want to point that out. They're a great youth group. That just because they're different doesn't mean they're less than. It's just they're different, and I have to engage them differently, as all youth ministries are, and as we should. So I just want to encourage you that listen, sometimes you don't get the youth ministry you want, you get the youth ministry you need, and this youth group is what I need right now. Interesting enough. I'll get into that. There's deeper philosophy there. But the youth group last night, I said, hey, listen, you're going to talk about, I had one young lady talk about an event we just went to. I had another young lady just spoke up and said, hey, I'd like to share something. And so it was very much an open type of discussion type thing. It wasn't necessarily anything planned per se, but it was, just sort of like, hey, we're just going to meet together because we love each other. We want to be together. We want to hang out together, and we want to talk about the Lord together. That is what we're about. And so I also planned a little something. And once again, anytime I can have students do something, not because I can't do it, but because I feel like they need a role and a responsibility. So I had them design the candy box that, we have Harvest Festival coming up, many of us. So I had them design the candy box for the church. And I had bought some candy corn wrapping paper. You can get that at Walmart, by the way. And I had them wrap that up. And, excuse me, I might sneeze. But they did a great job doing that. So I kind of leave things for them to do and see who wants to jump in. It's a way for me to see who is kind of service-minded in that regard, right? Because I want to see who's gonna step up here. I want to see who's willing to help out and see if they have some skills there in that. Oh, that just sort of just popped up. How about that? So I think we had a good youth meeting last night. I think a lot of cool things happened. Once again, this youth group is about teaching me. I think one of the things that we don't realize that the youth group that we serve is often the youth group that is teaching us a lot of things about our own life, right? And they're teaching me as well. So overall, oh, by the way, the game, I have to point out too, I had played Mafia before, but it's been forever. So we played Mafia, had a blast. I accidentally revealed there's supposed to be a nurse in the game, and I accidentally revealed who that was. So in the first thing, but it's okay. It didn't mess too many things up. But anyway, I was the guy that says, hey, everybody heads down. Mafia, go ahead and I tell some strange weird story about how the student died right in the game, right? So that was a lot of fun. So if you're here today and you are hanging out with me, be sure to let me know where you are serving. I would love to know where you're serving at. So let me know what state, maybe the church you're at. And then if you read the first youth ministry question I get in the chat, you're going to win a prize. So if you're here and you hear this, maybe if it's on replay, I can't help you. But I did send out a newsletter to my newsletter folks, things like that. So if they decide to join in and say, hey, I want to win something, then be sure to put your youth ministry question in the chat. Because I said the first youth ministry person that puts their youth ministry question in the chat, well, you're going to win something. Something, too, if you missed Tuesday, and then I'm going to jump into what we're talking about today, which is planning and programming, if you missed it, I want to show this, and I brought it up too early, so let me go ahead and fix this here. I had a session. I talked all about. I did a session on creating a purposeful youth space. So if you are either want to refresh your youth room, you are building a new youth room. I've done both of these. So if you are interested in that at all, then I'm going to encourage you to. This is a free download, by the way. It will cost you absolutely nothing. So if you're interested in that, I will drop a link in the chat, and you can download it for yourself. You can go back and watch it. But in this, I've downloaded the audio from that, so you don't have to go back and watch the video if you don't want. You can. It's over there on my homepage of my channel. You can go check that out. And I will go ahead and drop this in the chat here so that you can. This is the I'll put here the youth room guide. I'll drop that there, and then all these will be down in. All these will be down in the description below, all the links that I'm going to mention, all that kind of good stuff. So if you want the Youth Pastor's Guide to Creating Purposeful Youth Spaces, once again, it's like a 30-page document. It has worksheets. It has the audio of me talking about the important elements, the important ingredients as you're deciding what do you want to do with your youth space. It's got worksheets. So I encourage you to do the worksheets because then you discover something maybe you were not going to discover otherwise. So be sure you answer those questions. And then I put some of my favorite Amazon links in there as well. So if you're interested in freshening up the room, I put a few ideas in there for you. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll get started here. So we're talking about planning and programming, all of which are super important to youth ministry. And I hope your calendar, when you're looking at your calendar, your youth ministry calendar, I don't know how far out you're planned. I'm planned now through December. So I like to be 3 months ahead. I always leave a little bit of room, too, in my programming and planning for things like youth-led services, because I want to be able to put that in there. Like I did a 3-week session on relationships and dating. And then I said, okay, I'm going to leave a space, and then I'm going to do a youth-led night, which we had last night. And now I'm going to go into a 6-week series on how to share the gospel. And so I'll do every week, I'll do, G and then O and then S and then P and then E and then L. And then I will have another opportunity for another free space there where we will do that. Now, what came out of last night as well is, somebody had said right before service was over, hey, I would like to help or share devotion. I said, well, you know what? I could use some co-teachers in the series we're about to do. Would you be interested in that? And they said yes. So I'm going to give that to them. And give them a little outline, their little piece of that night. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my part. So we're going to co-teach the night, which I think is great. And hopefully I'll be able to gain more of that. I plan these youth nights when I really should maybe do more co-teaching. Or say who would like to co-teach with me tonight, and they'll do one little part of it and I'll do my little part of it. Because as they're helping to teach, they're growing. That's just discipleship. I'm teaching them how to grow because they're going to study. They're going to look at this. They're going to read scripture because they don't want to show up and look like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I think they're going to dig in. I think they'll do a good job. And that's just part of discipleship. So as part of doing that, I think you have to have 3 plans. The first plan is a teaching plan. So I've already kind of just shared that a little bit. My teaching plan, how I look at a whole year, for me is like, what do I want my students to know this year? What do I want them to be able to walk away with? What are some very important things that they need to know, maybe within a season or maybe within, just as part of it? I know there's people who have youth pastors who have 3-year plans. They're on a 3-year plan. They're scheduled out, and every 3 years, when maybe a freshman, and maybe they're a 4-year plan, but when a freshman comes in, they know that they're going to cycle through and they're going to teach all these various things so that a student, if that's the big thing, if that student goes all 4 years. I don't know if that's true anymore. There is maybe it's rare, and you can tell me in the comments below if you watch this later. Or you can tell me now. Is it rare to keep a student for 4 years? I think it. I can, for my group, I'm in a small rural church. Since I've been there, you come in, you're going to lose kids. Whoever the kids that were committed to the last youth pastor, they leave. But I've been able to keep these students together in this small rural church. There's about 7 or 8 students. I've been able to keep the core group now for almost, 3 years, 3.5 years right now. This January will be 4 years. And so having a teaching plan, being ahead of the game, seeing ahead of the curve there a little bit and say, okay, what do my students really need to know this year? What do they really need to know? And for me, like I said, in this group, I'm not one to teach dating and relationships because I'm just like, I don't know. I teach it now in a different way than I used to teach it because, the older you get, young people, for the most part, I don't think want to hear dating and relationship advice from older people, like their parents, right? So I try to approach it differently. So, but I also then, I have to then say, well, what do I need to know? What do I need them to know theologically? What do I need them to know? Like in Sunday school, we're doing Romans. And we're working through, that's chapter by chapter, and it's just section by section. that we're reading through, and we go through it. And I have some worksheets on that. They're not ready for to put out there yet, but I will have them, and they will have I will put them out into the universe at some point for people that want to use them, that want to use worksheets with their students as a guide, for answering questions and filling out things like that. But that's part of the teaching plan. Now, who created this teaching plan? Well, I did kind of, but with my students, I gave them a way to do it. So the process that I use with them, I said, guys, I don't want to teach this year just what I think is important, although I know what's important. But I said, will you guys help me? And I said the first week, and I did this in like over a 3-week period. The first thing I did is I gave them an index card, right? I just gave them a blank index card just like this and said, hey, write on there, everybody write on there something that you want to learn. What do you want to learn in this youth group this year? And they put all kinds of things. They put on there dating relationships. They put on there how to share the gospel. All the things that I'm currently teaching are things that I'm going to be teaching in October about obstacles. They said, how do we overcome obstacles? So I gave them this week 1. I said, week 1, what do you want to learn? The second thing that I did is I said, I want you to put these in order. I brought the cards back out that they had filled out. And I said, put them in order. What is important to you now? And how do you want to do it? So I had them do that, and then I put the cards out in front of them. I said, put as a group, and once again, you're talking about 6-7 students organizing this, so it's not mass chaos. But I said, put it in the order that you want to put it in. And so when they put it in order, that's the order I'm following, right? So when they said, when I said dating relationships, the gospel, sharing the gospel, and then we're doing overcoming obstacles. So those are that's my fall planning schedule. Mixed in there is my youth-led nights where they participate and they teach. And I'll get into why that's important as far as a plan goes as well. But then the next week, I said, all right, so you've put these in order. Now, how do you want to do these? Because they put Romans on there. They put 1 Corinthians on there. I said, how do you want to learn these? And I had different labels. I had different cards. I had cards like this out there, and it said things like Sunday morning, like I want to do that Sunday school. That's a good Sunday school topic. That's Wednesday night, our midweek program. That's, and I put it out there because, I would like a online version of this, Paul, somehow. I would like to go and have a resource to look at. So I put that on there. Now, none of those got any votes, which was interesting, that they'd say, oh, we'd rather just learn that online. Well, they can do that now. I mean, they can just Google that up and find out dating relationships, which not so great. It's not a perfect thing to do. I'm happy that they didn't want to do that, even though they might. But I gave them the option of how do you want to learn it, right? So in creating a teaching schedule, give your students some agency in that. Right? You could write, okay, these are things that are important. I don't really care about what you say, but I think you're missing, I think we are missing as youth pastors if we don't ask our students, what do you think's important for you right now? Now, they may not be thinking about overcoming obstacles. That may have been important in the moment, but when I start teaching it in October, they'll be reminded, maybe go, oh yeah, I remember we talked about maybe that. Maybe not, but it's going to be on the schedule because it's an important topic. Overcoming obstacles. How do you not quit in the midst of a problem or a situation? How do you not quit your faith if when you start going through these problems or persecution and those things? And so when I start teaching them about overcoming obstacles, I think it's going to click with them that was an important topic they brought up. And even though it wasn't done immediately, they didn't have instant information. I didn't teach on that the next week. They put it in order. And so now I'm going by the order that they gave me. So I want to encourage you, work a process like that. Go through your teaching schedule. Find out from your students what they want. They don't always know what they want. you will discover this in the process. This is a learning exercise. Okay. So, in doing the whole, index card process thing, you're going to find out some things about your students. You're going to find out maybe they don't know what they need or what they want. But they could write questions down. They could write topics, or they could write questions. How do I know there's a God? Well, then you're going to do a 3-week series on how to know there's a God. Maybe you want to talk about, some kid says, I got a lot of friends. How do I convince my friends there's a God? Well, then you say, then that's a 2-week session on apologetics. Remember, we only get 52 weeks a year. 52 weeks a year to teach. Right, on a midweek. So if you want to double that, it's 104 if you count Sunday mornings. And then bonus stuff if you do online stuff. But 104 weeks a year, we have 104 sessions a week, 104 sessions a year to be able to teach something. So you want to be able to, do the things that are important, do the things they need to know, and then do some of the things that you will have spaces, like I said, for youth-led night, or maybe something's going on as part of your teaching schedule. You go, hey, maybe I need to include this. Maybe something happens in the world. Maybe it's a disaster. Maybe it's something that happens in the news that is a nationwide or a worldwide event. Maybe it's the Pope getting, chosen. Maybe it's some sort of disaster that's happening in another part of the world. Something happens that's so news breaking that you say, well, okay, I'm going to create space for that. Your teaching schedule can be flexible in doing that. Okay. So just keep those things in mind when you're creating your teaching schedule, that these are things to look at and say, okay, how do I want to do my year? And helping your students to be able to do that, and then leaving spaces and gaps for those nights that you think, hey, this is probably a good night. And by the way, it's okay if something happens in the world to cancel whatever you had planned to teach, and maybe you need to talk about that, right? So this is not law. This is just, hey, this is a flexible schedule to look at. Now, if you're interested, by the way, before I go into the next section here on the next kind of plan, the first plan you need is a teaching plan. Doing your 52 weeks of your midweek or your Sunday school, whatever it may be. And, as part of my coaching, when I coach youth workers, I just discussed that with, the teaching plan part with a young man that I'm coaching right now. And we said, okay, well, are we looking at maybe our midweek is more topical and our Sunday mornings are more reading through a book of the Bible, right? So we kind of ideated some things, right? So you can say, hey, we're going to go more topical on Wednesdays, and we're going to be more, hey, we're going to be totally in the Word in the sense of reading through the Word, verse by verse, chapter by chapter, and so forth. We're going to go through a book of the Bible. So just, keeping those things in mind, of how you want to be able to teach us and those type of things. But if you're interested, I do have a resource, and it is my youth ministry playbook. And as a part of my youth ministry playbook, and I'll put a link in the chat here, you can get, there's probably over 20 articles on things like teaching. It comes with a teaching schedule. This is my book right here. Right, I eat my own dog food, as they say. This is my book. I carry it around with me because it's always open to something, because I'm looking at, hey, do I need what's my teaching schedule? Now, I already have my teaching schedule. I think I have a blank one in here to show you if you are interested. Let's see here. Where did I put my teaching schedule? It's somewhere in here. Here we go. Okay. So here's my teaching schedule. That's my blank one. I have my other plans there, but it gives you in there a teaching schedule that you can write down every month. So you're organized to be able to do that, right? You're organized and say, hey, I know what I'm teaching on, when I'm teaching on it. And then you know what? It's also nice to, when you have to promote it, when you have to be able to say, okay, what do I have coming up in this month? So when you need to go ahead and promote something. When you need to go ahead and start getting your social media or your stuff for the bulletin or whatever it may be. are, important things to know, because if you're always in the hurry up mode, if you're always behind, it's just exhausting, isn't it? It's exhausting to be able to try to do all those things, is to be able to try to catch up on things. So having a teaching schedule, you can say, okay, now I know that I'm going to promote. I know I need so many Instagram reels. I need so many TikTok videos. I need so many graphics. I need presentation slides. Whatever it is, having a teaching schedule is helpful. So if you're and every week, and if you're bivocational, listen to me. I understand. I am bivocational at my church. So in the church I'm serving at. So I understand. You may not do all these things. You can do a teaching schedule, though. You don't have to do all the social media, but it does give you the breathing room to be able to do that. And you can get that in this, along with a ton of other things, by the way. You're going to get, not only that, you're going to get, let me show you this, as part of the Youth Ministry Playbook. You're going to get a youth meeting playbook. And in the youth meeting playbook, you're going to get a 52 weeks worth of planning. These are planner pages where you said, and this has all the things that I think are important to a youth meeting. So you're going to get this just one page. It's the things that I think are important to a youth meeting are baked into it, right? So you're going to have things like worship. Yes, announcements have to be there. Closing ideas. A wow moment, you see. Media. What's the media going to be? What are my core texts? And not only that, you get another page that has what students are going to be involved, right? So when I do my youth-led night, I know, and I wrote it on a board in the youth room, I knew this young lady was going to do the game, this person was going to share, this person was bringing food, this person was doing an opening prayer, and I involved all these students into the program because it's baked into my meeting, that it's automatic. Right? That students should be involved. Then I have adult leaders. Well, I don't. I'm the adult leader. In a group this small, in the age of the church which I'm in, a lot of older adults, I am the guy, okay, that does this. So, and then, the prayer, people, and process. How am I going to do this? Have I prayed about the meeting? Who are the people involved? And what is my process of organizing this meeting? And then, of course, the meeting evaluation. It's built in. It's baked in. You get 52 of these for the year. And you can make, more copies as you wish per year. Because it's already there. So every year you can redo it. And what I like about it, by the way, and this is mine. This is my copy right here. And it has, notes. It's got all the things in them, right? All the things that I got going on. For a meeting, but I would encourage you, check it out. I'll put a link down there in the chat. There'll be one down in the description. Okay, so if you want my youth ministry playbook, you get the youth ministry playbook. You get a lot of guides that are helpful. You get the youth meeting planner that you get there for 52 weeks of that. So be sure to check that out. All right, let me go ahead and drop this in the chat. I see there's a few of you watching. I want to welcome you in, by the way. Thank you for being here. Thanks for watching today. If you have a youth ministry question, I have not given away my prize yet, by the way. If you're coming in here, if you ask a youth ministry question, I will send you like a free lesson. Or maybe something cooler. You don't know. You're gonna have to participate to find out. So if you have a question about youth ministry, about your youth ministry, maybe you're struggling with something. Maybe you're like, I just need some ideas, Paul. Help me out. Go ahead and leave a question in the chat, and I'll help you out. Right. And then also, if you are, just here and you say, look, just tell me where you're from. Just say, hey, Paul, I have a church in. Yesterday I had a young man from Tennessee, right? He was in, I think it was in East Tennessee. So once again, if you're here in the chat, be sure to go ahead and leave me a comment so I know that you're here and that you have a question, because once again, I want to be able to give away something to you. First question in the chat gets the prize, okay? All right, so let's talk about the second plan real quick. The second plan that I think every youth pastor needs to have is going to be a discipleship plan. Okay, and that's the biggie. So the discipleship plan, that's not just curriculum. That's not just a curriculum question. What do I need to teach students about discipleship? Yes, that's important. Clearly, that's that's an important thing. But the issue becomes, what other moments do you have that are on your calendar that are teachable moments, or that are seasons of discipleship? So what goes into discipleship then? Well, I would say this, that discipleship is things like the upcoming retreat. Is that on your calendar? That's a part of discipleship. Is youth camp on your calendar? That's a plan you have to have. What is my plan for camp? What is my plan to get kids on this retreat? For me, like I said, discipleship is baked into my youth meetings. So I have scheduled in my things youth-led nights. Why? Because that's discipleship. I am teaching them how to do the thing that it's not just theory. It's not just something in the Bible that they hear that they go, oh, that's very nice. That's something I need to do. That's something. No, you're going to practice it. That's the question. What is your plan for practice? What is your plan for practicing discipleship? How about service projects? Are they built and baked into your year? Are there things that in talking with, once again, talk about coaching, and I'll let you know about coaching coming up if you're interested in that. But with my current coaching client, we talked about kickoff events. And we talked about how do you want to kick off the year, and we talked about it, and I gave him a suggestion. I said, well, because I think he had mentioned something about service is what I think we got talking about. I said, well, hey, do you have any ministries in your church that are service driven, right? That challenge students to serve? And he said, well, we have a food pantry. Well, this becomes a great opportunity for students and the church to bond together. So we talked about how can we do that? So we came up with the idea that we're going to have a can drive. We're not waiting for October, November. Yes, those are big months because, Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas is coming up, and people need help. So we talked about it and said, well, why not do a can drive? And mixed in with the can drive, you have the can Olympics, right? So you have like can bowling, right? Stack cans and then use a cantaloupe or something and, roll it and have kids bowling to see if they can knock over the cans, right? So you have can bowling. You have stack the cans as high as you can. You can have different events with cans, like guess what's in the can. Take the labels off the cans. Let kids guess. You know what they are. And maybe you say, hey, whatever's in this can, you got to eat if you guess incorrectly. So then you have to take the can, you open the can opener, you plop it into a bowl and go, okay, there we go. Now you got to eat some of that. And of course you want to pick things that are not going to be nasty or things that you have to cook you're not going to cook them, but there's things you could eat right out of the can, right? Like tuna fish or something like that. So, you could do fun things like that. So, that is discipleship. You have a discipleship plan going forward. You have a plan to help kids walk in the way of Jesus, right? You got to plan discipleship stuff, things that they get their hands dirty with, things that they're going to, remember. Jesus didn't just teach his disciples. Our image, unfortunately, is all about, being the leader and having all these students gathered around us in this Jesus format where we come upon the mountaintop and now we're teaching them all the great things about God and about how many of you know, I think you guys know this, that it's not just about talk. It's about doing. It's about finding ways within your youth meeting to have these discipleship moments where students are practicing what Jesus is asking them to do. So if that's serving, well then, yeah, we're going to give them an opportunity to do a can drive. If it's a chance to lead and actually read the scripture, pray about their night, pray about their thing that they're doing on a youth-led night, then discipleship, the plan for discipleship has to be baked in. It has to be baked into your youth meetings. It has to be baked into your calendar. Because if it's not baked in, it has to be top of mind, because otherwise we start looking at our youth meetings as just these gatherings. And unfortunately, the question a lot of youth, myself included, we ask is, well, they say, well, how did the meeting go? And we go, oh, it was good. We had this many kids. Well, how many of you know that's not a great, that's a low level indicator of how the meeting went. I look at my youth meeting and I have to judge my youth meetings. I don't judge it based on how many's there, although I do, right? We all do. But I'm also have a more of a top tier indicator, which is how many students did I get involved in this thing, in this youth meeting that I'm having here? Do I have kids reading scripture? Do I have kids, reading the passage? Do I have students decorating the box? Like I said, decorating the box for the church. I connected them with the church because they decorated the box. Yeah, I supplied the stuff, but they did it, right? And just like with this can drive thing that that we worked together, that me and Austin worked together on, that's connecting students to the church, to the greater part, not the greater part, but the larger body. Let's say that, because I'm not one to say adult church and student church and kids church. It's all church. Right? It's all church to me. There's no distinction between the adults, the students, and the kids. If you know Jesus as your Savior, you're the church, right? And so I'm encouraging, in the can drive scenario, part of discipleship is connecting students to the larger part of the body and serving that body. So guess what? When part of our idea was in a discipleship plan was having the leader, whoever the ministry leader is, I almost bet that almost none of those kids know who runs the pantry ministry at their church. I don't know. Do your kids know who run the ministries at your church? So we decided to say, hey, let's let the guy or girl the man or woman who runs the pantry come in and share for 3 minutes about what the pantry does and the experience that they had in doing that. Because if they're doing that, if they're sharing what that is, if they're sharing they're introducing them to a ministry that maybe if they stay in the church, maybe that's a place they want to serve. Maybe as a student, they want to help. They on days where they're doing, they're organizing the pantry or whatever. Maybe they want to volunteer because they now have a relationship with whoever is the leader of that ministry. We as youth pastors are connecting. We're the bridge in doing that. And so we have to have a discipleship plan. We have to have a discipleship plan, because if we don't have a discipleship plan and we're hoping, we've crossed our fingers and said, oh, children and youth are just going to find their way. I'm going to say that's no. I'm going to say that's negative. I'm going to say that if we're not doing intentional discipleship, we may not be doing discipleship at all. We're guessing. We're hoping that this lesson is going to work. This meeting is going to work. But discipleship is far more than that. Discipleship is intentional. So I would say that's the second plan we need, is discipleship as a plan, a thoughtful, intentional plan to take a student through their 4 years or 5 years or however they're long in the ministry, and having them what our church believes and what we believe discipleship is, that these are the discipleship points we want them to hit. Right? And I talked about this in a video the other day on Tuesday. Part of it was people wanted to know, what are the spiritual milestones for a student? And I came up with it's not out yet, but I'm writing a book on milestones. It's a book, it's an ebook, but it's a book nonetheless, about milestones. What are the milestones of your ministry? And part of that is serving for me, right? You're serving, you're doing something, whether that's leading in the youth-led meeting, whether that's helping with the pantry, whether that's doing food drive. That's all service-driven, connecting the bodies together. The adult body and the youth body, they're not separate, but they don't know each other very well. So we have to be in charge of introducing them, right? If you are interested in discipleship resources, I do have that. Let me go ahead and bring this up. I do have a Discipleship Bundle that has a ton of resources in it. It has a discipleship checklist, right? Am I making disciples? Well, how do I know? Well, here's a checklist of resources that are going to help you make more disciples. It has lessons. It has a teaching series that you can use there. It's got things like a series that I do called The Process, which has an anvil that if you can get a hold of an anvil, which talks about the process of how God makes us, creates us into his image, which is a discipleship. That's the whole goal. We become more like Jesus. So if you're looking for not only lessons, but it comes with a series called Start Again, which is about students maybe coming back to the Lord and they need help. Where do I start? I'm either coming back to the Lord or I need to start. I'm a student who doesn't know the Lord and I want to know the Lord. So how can I, where do I start at? It gives you resources for that. I have a book of five little booklets you have too that, is talking about, I call it the Follow 5. And these 5 booklets take students on a journey of what does it mean to follow Jesus. It has my ebook in there about discipleship is more than a meeting, right? It's the outreach. It's the Disciple Project Outreach Guide. And what it does is it breaks down my philosophy of discipleship. It breaks down what I think a disciple is, what is the praxis for that. And then I give you 100 ideas for outreach ideas that you can find in there. And doing outreach as a group, not as you planning something, but how to do it with students and how to do the actual disciple, what I call the disciple project, which is giving up your regular youth meetings to get out of your seats, to go and do the stuff that Jesus talked about, right? Not go, yes, practice it every day, but using your main youth meeting as a launch pad to make disciples. Okay. So I'm going to drop a link there. So if you want discipleship resources, I want to help you with that. And I want you to have this discipleship bundle. So go ahead and check it out. Like I said, it has a ton of resources. I'm always adding to it, right? I'm always adding new resources. I'm always adding new things to it because I think there's, just a need for youth pastors to be able to have resources like this. So let me go ahead and drop that in the chat. And once again, we got to have a plan. We got to have a teaching plan. We got to have a discipleship plan. And then I'm going to talk about the third one here in just a second. So there's the Discipleship Bundle. You can check that out. And there we go. Let's go ahead and talk about now the third plan every youth pastor needs. The third plan I think every youth pastor needs is an outreach plan. An outreach plan. So, Paul, what are you talking about? Well, I don't know about you, but there has to be a way, right? We want to reach more students for Jesus. I think that's correct, right? We want to see more students come to know the Lord. And we want more kids in our youth space so that we can have influence, so we can have an impact upon their lives. Now, everybody's outreach plan is going to look different based upon their church, based on your experience. What was the outreach plan if you were a student in youth group? What was that outreach plan look like? What did that look like as a young person? We tend to pick up on things that our youth pastor did. And maybe you got saved and you came to know the Lord because your youth pastor did an event and you said, man, I'm going to do that event with my students. Right? And that's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, if we don't have a regularly scheduled outreach once a quarter, right? Once a month, and it can look like anything. It could be a huge event night. Yes, we think of outreach, I think, in terms of big events. It doesn't always have to be a big event. Sometimes it's just a Wednesday night. A Wednesday night says, hey, tonight we're doing, maybe we're doing the Impossible Shot. That's not a large. I just read a story, by the way. This is like really crazy. They do the impossible shot, if you're not familiar with it, is basically you have a Nerf backboard and hoop. You stand somewhere in the surface. It's going to be an impossible shot, right? You partner up with people. You have kids that are, either you can have an adult that's holding it, or you can have two students. Usually it's two students that'll do it. Maybe one will hold the backboard, and the other student will shoot. Well, this youth pastor put $5. I think he said the first shot will be $5, and every week that you didn't make it, another $5 would go in. And I think he said this has gone on for 5 years, and nobody has ever gotten the impossible shot. They did it like once a week. They did the impossible shot just for fun. It's like, hey, it doesn't take a lot of time. It takes 5 minutes. All right, impossible shot. Who's going to do it? All right, these 5 people are going to do it. Okay. And I think he said it was up to $1,900 over 5 years. I don't do math. I don't math very well. But that's an amazing outreach idea. Every week you have a challenge that somebody can do, like the impossible shot, and every week that somebody doesn't make it, $5 goes in there. I think that's just genius. You could do so, and it doesn't have to be the impossible shot. It could be something else, but that's an easy thing. A Nerf backboard and a ball. Do the impossible shot. If they make it, they win however much money's in the kitty, right? So if it's 3 weeks later, they win $15. If it's a year later, they win $260, I think, if my math is right. So I think that's just a cool idea that, that students will show up just to take the shot. You may have a student come in for one night and they say, oh, you guys are giving away $250 or whatever the amount is up to? Man, I want to come try that. They may show up just for the shot, but you know what? They'll show up for the shot, and then you're going to share Jesus with them. And they may have come for that, but they're going to find a whole new relationship with Jesus for that. So, so having an outreach strategy, is you have to have it scheduled in a way that is going to, it can't be maybe all the time, but it can be sometimes. Like I said, it could be monthly, could be quarterly, could be yearly. I mean, you could have one huge event every year, whatever that may be. But every quarter, like I've done, whether it's a luau night, whether it's a themed night of something, right? Football's in, right now. So maybe it's a punt, pass, and kick night, right? Maybe it's a quarterback throw night, right? Where you just have a tire out there and you say, or you have a garbage can that you have to get throw it out, 20 yards or something. Or maybe it's a night where you say, you run drills or whatever it may be. But the season lends itself to doing outreach. But if you don't do outreach and all you're doing, and I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying outreach is as much as discipleship is intentional, outreach is intentional. You have to actively seek to draw students in and find ways to do that. And by the way, the best advertisement for your youth meeting is your next youth meeting. How well that youth meeting goes. I had a young lady last night who was there. I won't say her name, but she was there and she was a guest. But she saw what we did on a youth-led night. Now, is a youth-led night a tremendous some people would not call that an outreach. I would say maybe it is. It's not like I'm not advertising, hey, come for our youth-led outreach night. That doesn't sound super exciting. But my hope is that young lady came in, the person who invited them, one of our students invited them, that's outreach. They're reaching out to them and say, hey, come to my youth meeting. We're doing youth-led night. So she shows up and maybe she says, this is the group for me. This is the place I want to come hang out. This is the place that is awesome. So maybe a youth-led night is kind of an outreach night because they're seeing that youth group is more than just some guy getting up and preaching every week. It's far more engaging. It's far more interactive. it's more fun or relaxed or whatever that vibe is for them, that's outreach. So it can be outreach. So can it be, all these things? Yeah. But you have to have an outreach strategy. How do you put it on your calendar? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? You have Christmas coming up. The yearly Christmas party for me was an outreach because you could bring friends to that, right? And by the way, if you're interested, I have a guide called how to put together the best, Christmas party ever, right? I also have, I think that comes with the Christmas party planner, which is what it is. That is a part of the My Youth Ministry Playbook, by the way. That comes with that. So does this, by the way. If you're looking for an outreach, how about the Youth Pastor's Guide to Creating an Epic Nerf Night? Every November, we try to do some sort of Nerf thing, and it's a blast. So if you're interested in, an outreach that works, that wants to get students involved, then these type of things are the ones you want to plan and go, hey, we could do that. Get a couple of Nerf guns, set up the room where it's all. And by the way, in this particular guide, there's all kinds of games. There's my Nerf blaster recommendations. There are all kinds of. There's worksheets in there. There's planning sheets just for Nerf nights. You could do a once a month Nerf night for 3 months. It's all kinds of ways you could do this. And I'm going to drop a link into the chat. All the links will be down below, by the way, if you're interested. But you got to create these outreach points. And whether that is come and see or your students going out and once again, weekly inviting their friends. So you're teaching them. That's one reason why I'm teaching sharing the gospel. And because they're reaching out to their friends, say, that's one of the milestones for me, is if a kid can share the gospel, can they effectively share what the gospel is? So they're going to know it, and then they can use that on a regular basis as part of their individual outreach, but then they can come maybe share the gospel message on a youth night when we do a Nerf night and say, hey, why don't you share the gospel? What is the gospel? What is the gospel? So let me go ahead and drop a link to the Nerf. And by the way, you get it in the playbook. But say, well, I just want the Nerf thing. I just want to plan an epic Nerf night. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and just share that with you, and I'll put that in there, and I'll put that in the chat. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see. Epic Nerf night. Okay, and let me drop the link there. Once again, it'll be in the discussion in the description below. So check that out for yourself. But I think we've covered everything. I usually stay on here from 11:30 to 12:30 just to see who's in, who wants to ask questions, things like that. So let me reiterate the 3 most important plans that a youth pastor has to have. The first thing they have to have is they have to have a teaching plan. You got to know what you're teaching. I recommend 3 months at a time. You can go longer. You can go do a whole year. It's fine. And then decide how that's going to work and how students are participating in that, right? That's the first thing. Have a teaching plan. The second thing is have a discipleship plan. What does that look like? What is a disciple? What is discipleship behavior? And am I figuring out not only how students do discipleship outside of the room, I'm figuring out what does discipleship look like inside the room. Do I have resources for them? Are they participating in the meeting in some way, bringing their gifts and talents to the table? Are they singing a song? Are they reading scripture? Are they playing an instrument? So many ways for them to participate. The question is it intentional on your part to allow them to participate? Are you giving away the ministry to them? That's the key. And then the third plan every youth pastor needs to have is an outreach plan. Having an outreach plan. Because listen, if you don't have an outreach plan, guess what? I don't think you're going to reach very many students if you don't have a plan to do it. Okay? You got to have a plan. You got to have these, whether it's Nerf night, whether it's the impossible shot, whether it's whatever it is, the theme night, Nerf night, whatever it is. Put something on the calendar that's going to be engaging. Let your students be a part of the planning process. And then say, okay, we're going to plan this. We're going to put it on the date. Let's get to it. Let's reach our friends for Christ. And make it a cooperative, type of thing where students can participate in it. But that is it for today, guys. I want to thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for being a part today. If you're interested in any of the things that I talked about today, be sure to go ahead and go down in the description. And if you have a question, maybe you didn't get a chance to ask your question today. Maybe you were a little shy. I understand. You're a little shy and you say, hey, I didn't want to jump on in the chat and things. Well, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Leave it in the comments down below, and you can get your question on the next show, which will be next Tuesday, by the way. Tuesdays and Thursdays. It is Streamtember. And so every Tuesday, Thursday, 11:30 to 12:30, I am here sharing with you all that I can share with you, because I want you to have a successful youth ministry. I want you to be a successful youth pastor. I don't want you to get fired. I don't want you to be discouraged. I don't want you to be feeling like you're not doing a good job. And so I answer these questions because I want you to stay in youth ministry as long as you want to stay in youth ministry, as long as the Lord would have you in youth ministry. But too many youth pastors are quitting. And I don't want you to quit. I don't want you to say I'm not doing a good job. So check on those things. Check on the resources. Oh, hey, look at this. Hello, Joed. Welcome. Joed, thank you so much for being here today. Thanks for being a part. Appreciate you watching. Hopefully today, the resources that I've offered, but also the questions I've answered, have been helpful to you. So Joed, if you have a question, leave it in the comments down later. If you don't want to leave it here, go ahead and leave it down below. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. Thanks for being a part today. Be sure to go ahead and visit thediscipleproject.net for all the resources I mentioned are there. Links there, links in the description, and I will see you all on Tuesday. And I don't remember what we're talking about on Tuesday, but it'll be a good topic. It's on the main page. It's on my YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe, like, hit the thumbs up button, all the things, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.